Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming back to another episode of Tech Stocks and Jobs. What episode are we on? I don't even know. What number show is this? 182. I'm like, what show? What number are we on? I guess we try to make it to 200 by the end of this year. We should have been well over 200. We've been slacking. I blame D. I blame D for that. That's who I blame. Gonna always blame D. Rob, what's going on? Welcome back. Tameika, how you doing? Kamai, what's going on? T, what's up? Um, got 17 people in the building, 11 likes so far. It's okay. It's better than not having none. Better than not having none. I'll take that. Have y'all been keeping up with your Bitcoin? What is it today? I have no idea. I know it's at one. Was it 117 this week? 118, something like that. Let's see. What was Bitcoin up to this week? I think it was at the 118 or something like that. Might have been higher than that. I'm sure you guys been keeping up with what's going on. Um, I don't know if you've been hearing all this stuff. I was looking online in the past couple of days about, you know, people liquidating billionaires, liquidating millionaires, selling properties, people leaving the United States, going overseas, in particular the UAE, um, Switzerland, and Italy are the top three destinations that I'm seeing where people are jetting off to, trying to make their money stretch. Of course, Switzerland, you know what that is, just off the rip. But just been looking at stuff like that. Also been reviewing like all these $1 billion purchases. I don't know if you guys been keeping up with the whole battle with Open AI and the companies that they've been looking at to buy. I'll talk about a little bit about that. I think I have it in my notes to talk about that. The company that Open AI was bidding or was looking to buy, and somebody swooped in and bought them. I think they bought the company for like either 1.9 billion or 4.2 billion. Um, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about a lot of things. Like I got a lot of stuff I want to talk about. So should this be a note taking session? Uh, Always, but just it's I say it like this. These are things that I think you should keep an eye on. Let me say it that way. Things that you should keep an eye on. If you're not interested in keeping an eye on it, don't keep an eye on it. But these are just things that I see that are uh, newsworthy for us as well. Um, Let me look here. Hold on. Do y'all want ready yet? One ready yet, but hold on. Let me oh yeah, here it is. Yeah. Google to pay 2.4 billion for Win Surf staff. The IP and startup ends the talks with OpenAI. So let me look up that real quick. Hold on. Then we're gonna talk about a lot of things. We're gonna talk about a lot of things today. All right, let's start off with that, and then I'm gonna backdoor to some conversations that I want to have, and then we are going to do a deep dive into money. Um, and so forth. All right, so Google to pay $2.4 billion in deal to license tech of windsurf. They were in talks with being purchased by OpenAI, but Google said, "I got money. You all ain't gonna get them too. I'ma swoop in and we're gonna snatch them up as well too." So Google swooped in, agreed to pay 2.4 billion dollars in a deal to license the technology, artificial intelligence assistance by the coding to windsurf. Uh, spoke, but hold that thought. Hold that thought. Did you guys? It's a video out there on. I don't know. Do you guys remember this company here, Builder AI? Well, if you do, it's a big scam. They're caught up in a scandal. Let me say it that way. There's a video out there on YouTube talking about how they treat everybody from investors, from open AI to everybody. And basically, they didn't have anything they were doing AI. They just they hired a bunch of people, and this is in the video. They hired a bunch of people in India and Pakistan to do some work. They weren't doing anything with AI or nothing like that. It's a big deal. It's a whole video out there about it. Let me see if I could if it come up. Yeah, right here. Cold Fusion just did it, and this is the one I was looking. And in this video, they talk about just really the whole scam. Let me see if I could get to where they're sitting there. Yeah. So they talk about him, they talk about the other guy, and they were just how they were just pretty much lying, right? So this is the other part of tech no one ever wants to talk about. That I think gets glossed over. Okay, so um this is gonna be controversial, what I say, right? And some people are not gonna like it. So if you follow Pocket Watching with JT and Earn Your Leisure, and you know that whole debacle going back and forth with Tony the Closer, the dude out of Atlanta, or I think he's from Detroit or Michigan. I want to say, I think he's from Detroit though. What's his name? The one that was standing on the corner, Tulsa, Black Wall Street. I forget his name. Whatever. Here's what I want to say, and this is just my take, right? When it comes to, and I'll be very blunt here, when it comes to black people, I see us getting tripped up with the taxes, raising fund, yeah, Jay Morrison. Taxes, funds, truck driving, uh I may build I may tell you to do something in real estate. There's a scam. We get caught up on, don't get me wrong, the scammers scam for millions. But our scams be so small and so minute compared to Builder.ai and the what's the chick that was doing that dressed like that dressed like Steve Jobs, Theracin, or what's her name, Theracin or something like that. Anyway, they get caught up for billions. We get caught up for the minutia, the little things that we could actually go earn. We could actually go make $1 million. We can actually earn that over time. We can actually earn that type of money. Yeah, Elizabeth Holmes. And it's crazy to me because I always sit back and do the comparison. Right, we go to jail for we were doing tax frauds, or we would what, like, what's this, the politicians going to jail for millions for going on trips and cruises and all of that, right? Like we literally go to jail for those things. They go to jail And when I say they, everybody else that's not black, let's say it that way. They go to jail for, hey, I made a startup, I tricked y'all, and I raised $5 billion. Or what was the other one that got caught up? What's the guy that got caught up with the crypto fund? Oh gosh, I forget his name. How could I forget that? That was such a big deal last year, in the last 2 years. He got caught up for billions. They're not the only ones. And all I'm simply pointing out is it's the bad his bad Kermit. If you yeah, SBF, yeah, if you gonna fraud for billions. That's all I'm saying. Fraud for billions. In other words, I think our ideas in general, just overall, are on a smaller scale versus being on a larger scale. That's all I'm saying. All right. That's all I'm saying. It's just I don't know. I look at these things and I'm like, okay, I can go to Pocket Watcher with JT and see truck driver, taxes, scamming people out of Social Security, squatters, blah blah blah, a fund or something like that, right? And then I go over here to like Cold Fusion or all these other ones, and oh, they scam people out of X, Y, and Z. But when they get out of jail, or if they ever get out of jail, their family still are eating, they're still are living, they're still doing their thing, they're still doing whatever it is they need to do because they put money out in the Caymans, they put money somewhere else, they jumped ship, they went to another country where they can't be deported. They paid their passport. They bought some land. They put something on it in that country. They stay in there. They ain't coming out. They hire local security. I'm just saying, if you're gonna fraud, I mean, do it big. I'm just that's what I see is the common thing. I'm not telling you to fraud by no means. I'm just saying this is just the thing that I see. You said you got to seek and clear and working on artist skills in relevant. Yes, they are. But I'm a caveat your question with this. I love it how you guys. I'm talking about builder AI and fraud, and you're like, what about my clearance? Let's get back on what you going what can I do with this? That cracked me up. 'Cause it's so off topic. But yes, is your clearance and Red Hat relevant? Yes. If you don't believe that, go look at any of the companies out there, such as Lados, SIC, L3 Harris, blah 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 blah. No disrespect, and no disrespect taken. It's just funny to me. The Salesforce head also said they have AI skill. Yep, 50% to validate staff from reductions. Yep, yep, yep. I agree, D. It takes the same amount of energy, no matter what size the frog. Go big or go home. So they say. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right, so that's what I saw. Those are just some of the things I saw this week. So Google said, you know what? I'm tired of you, Open AI. We just gonna swoop in and buy this windsurf company for 2.4 billion. We're gonna license it for 2.4 billion. So windsurf, um, AI, employees, number of employees. Let's see how many employees they got. 193. It says 193 employees in May, and then 250. So they're somewhere between it. From looks like it says from 193 to 250. That's still a small company. That's still a small company, right? Yeah, and it says OpenAI's $3 billion deal with AI coding startup Windsurf collapses as Google swoops in for the licensing deal. Cut them off, right? Why is that a big deal? Why do I care about these deals like this? It's a reason why I care about these deals like this for a couple of reasons. As we continue to um breathe, if you want to look at it that way, the government is leaning towards getting more and more involved with the open AI, the Googles, the um I guess you could say commercial companies, the Andros, the Palantirs, and so forth. Why does that matter to you? Because you're going to see they already, if you weren't paying attention to that consortium that Anduril, Palantir, and Meta and somebody else started to go after government contracts. The question is, and you have to ask yourself this: why does why would somebody like Meta care about a government contract? Why would somebody like Palantir care about a government contract? Why does someone like Google, AWS, and them care about a government contract? Why? Right? Why do they care? They already got billions and trillions, right? Why do they care? They already got money. They don't need that money, right? And this is where you all have to kind of put your pride aside. They do. They care. They care about that money. Why? Because it's a continuous feed to keeping people employed and to keep money flowing into the company, and also increase opportunities and market share in the federal space. There's still a need. Somebody got to eat, somebody got to do the work. So when you guys are looking at, like, I'm going over here to Fang, you can go to Fang and work under a government contract. You can go work at Google under a government contract. You can go work at AWS under a government contract. Everybody does business with the government. The government is everybody's daddy. No one wants to say that to you. No one wants to tell you that. Get on board, because daddy is shelling out big bucks. I don't know if you ever follow, if you ever pay attention, every time Republicans go into office, we go on to war. When we go to war, that's the next 10 years you're going to eat. I'm sorry, that's just the way it is. I don't know if you pay attention to it, but I have. Every time Republicans go into office, somebody's going to war and somebody got to do the time. Meaning, somebody got to code it, somebody got to build the infrastructure, somebody got to get it out there to the users, and somebody got to test it. So it's all those things: testing, uh, cyber, uh, uh, building, QA, project management, product management, agile, the whole nine. It is all those things. So if you want to eat, I've given you a plethora of things to look at on how to eat. What that could look like for you over 5 years, 10 years. I probably think, in my mind, if I had to do it all over again, I would say do tech for 10, maybe 15 years and then get out. But you gotta be hustling in them 10 to 15 years. You can't come in and say, "Oh, I'm gonna get a job paying me 80,000 and I'm gonna be in there for 5 years." Because you remember, for every year, and I went over this last week or maybe the week before last, your 3% growth over them 5 years is pennies. It's nothing. So you got to be adding a skill and jumping. And don't think for 1 minute that people who work at Meta haven't worked at some other company, right? Don't think they haven't worked at some other company and came back into another division, so forth and so on. Don't get it twisted, right? We're loyal. And I get it. It's nothing wrong with it. But ask, how much does your loyalty cost? That's the question you gotta ask, right? And people are gonna get mad and say, "Well, everybody can't afford the job hop. Everybody can't do this, and everybody." Why? Why can't everybody afford the job hop? Why can't you afford to increase your skill sets and interview and put yourself out there? Why? Why can't you afford it? M- Again, most people get tired Most people don't want to interview, and most people don't want to move around, right? And I'm telling you that from a person who gets tired, who don't want to move around sometimes. And sometimes I don't feel like being bothered. I don't want to go through your interview process. I don't want to sit through 5 interviews. Give me the one and done. But the trick to those is sometimes they pay good and sometimes they don't. And sometimes you got to sit through the fire to get on the other side. And it may be a 5 step interview process. I don't know. Just point it out, right? Just point it out. Let me see. I got some more stuff, but let me make sure I'm in my right folder. Because we're gonna do a deep dive today. All right, let me pull this up. All right, so here, right here, let me blow this up. This is what they're doing. Tech companies pledge 23 million to train teachers to use AI. Big tech wants to get AI in every classroom, and now it's trying to make sure that teachers do too. Meta, Anthropic, and OpenAI are pledging 23 million to the American Federation of Teachers to set up an academy for AI instruction in New York to help train teachers on how to use AI and help weave the technology into their curriculum. It says the teaching union is the second largest in the U.S. and represents 1.8 million in pre-K and the 12th grade. So I'm gonna pause right here. Why is this important? Because, and let me blow that up a little bit more. Why is this important? It's because teachers make up the largest concentration of millionaires in the United States. I don't know if you know that or not, but you find more teachers being millionaires than you do your doctors and your lawyers. Don't shoot me. Go talk to go talk to the rest of the folks over at Dave Ramsey and all the other locations that have said where's the concentrate of millionaires at. And it comes from teachers. Now the question is how long does it take for them to get there? But that's beside the story. That's beside the point, right? So let me pull that up. And pull that right on up. Mm-mm-mm. Yeah, it says significant representation. Teachers and other educators account for 14% of the nation's millionaires. It says they rank behind only managers. And they say managers, doctors, and lawyers. So they come in, actually, let me correct myself. They come in second. They come in second, right? It says they rank behind managers, but let me correct myself again. They rank behind managers at 21%, but surpass doctors, lawyers, and other professionals combined at 11%. Combined at 11%. And let me show you what I'm reading so you can not think I'm making this up. It's right there, right here. Teachers and other educators account for 14% of the nation's millionaires. Why do I care about that? Because if teachers are getting into AI, imagine how much they can create in terms of in terms of a second income by teaching AI to on say edX.org or at a community college or what have you, right? And it also says they rank behind only managers at 21%, but surpass doctors, lawyers, and other professionals combined at 11%, right? It says factors that contribute into wealth of financial discipline. They get paid once a month. Benefits. Teachers often receive benefits, such as pensions, healthcare, dental insurance, which contribute to their financial security. dual income household. Many millionaire teachers are a part of two income household, which can significantly boost their overall income and savings. And second, career alternative streams. Some teachers supplement their income through summer jobs, consulting, and publishing. And that's what I was saying there. And it says inheritance. Notably, a significant portion of millionaire teachers, 46%, attribute their wealth at least in part to their inheritance, right? So teachers, we think engineers, we think doctors and lawyers, but that's not the true case. So if they come over here and start learning AI and work on that as a second skill set to then turn around and use that skill set for the greater good, for teaching, for publishing, for writing books, for showing kids how to write an ebook in school, or showing them how to write their own plays or what have you, or create their YouTube channel. There's a teacher out there that shows kids how to DJ. Have y'all seen her? She shows kids how to DJ. I've sent D her uh how to DJ. It's a black teacher. She shows kids how to DJ. Yeah, right here. Miss Underhill. This is Miss Underhill right here. Showing kids how to DJ. She shows them how to mix. She shows them how to come in and watch the crowd, the whole nine. She does all of that. So just pointing out, imagine her actually starting to teach incorporating AI with her skill sets for teaching kids how to DJ, how to mix, going back, and then also going back and teaching kids about older music, the tempos, the beats, um, how they blended their horns, the whole nine, all of that, right? So just pointing out things that could possibly blend into. All right. And it also says, in addition to teacher unions, the Trump administration is backing AI in the classroom in a big way. Even though the potential harm on the technology aren't fully understood, America's kids might end up being the guinea pigs to see how AI can be used in education. And so here's I guess the conference and the talk that they had. So again, when you're sending your grandkids are going to school and they're learning about AI, right? Your grandkids are going to school and they're growing up with AI. We grew up with turning the TV with the pliers and the antenna. And then the next generation probably grew up with already having cell phones, didn't know what a rotary phone was. And now your grandkids are growing up with AI and quantum computing. They're never gonna know any of the struggle of being home when the lights come on outside, because the lights they're gonna probably control the lights. They're probably gonna control the lights. All right. All right, I'm gonna pause there because I really want to get into this here. Let me see where it's at. Mm, thought I had it over here. We'll come back to that. That's Mario's book. Let's go here. All right, so I spoke about this a couple of times before, so I'm going to make this bigger, and we're gonna expand, and we're gonna do some numbers today. Okay, so this is a job offer I got back in 2018. The job offer was to move to Atlanta to work for the CDC. I've talked about this on my meetup before. I think I probably even showed it back then. But all the things that I'm talking about how you can take a job and turn it into you being a multimillionaire, we're gonna use this job as an example. So you're not out here creating scandals and going to jail and being pocket watching with JT or in jail. And then we're gonna talk about how we can utilize this for other things. So before I get into that, let me pull this back up. So here I have a personal net worth worksheet, and we're gonna fill this personal network worksheet in on with some numbers. These are not accurate numbers. These are just numbers. I'll give you this link so you guys can go download it for yourself. It's active, and you can play with it yourself. All right. So let me blow this up so you guys can see it. Because it looks a little small on the screen there. All right, that looks better, right? All right, so immediately you see here that they show you the salary of 210. You pay semi-monthly, so twice a month. The benefits equal out to 33,600. The relocation bonus was 7,500, and then 401k to TBD, right? And the only reason why that was TBD is because it says the 401k is optional and available 3 months after you start. Alpha 6 will provide you up to 3.5% matching funds based on your contributions at 6%, right? And you can see the plan for additional details. So total compensation would be 251 100. Does that sound like a good deal? Yes or no? Put a 1 in the chat for yes and put a 2 in the chat for no. Remember, this is 2018. Uh, uh, all right, we got some ones. Okay, so this is what it says here. It says in 2018 it was Heather is kind of low. Heather, you're spoiled. All right, so in 2018, 210,000. It's 210,000 in 2018. In 2025, it will be worth 269,000. This is an average inflation rate of about 3.64% and a cumulative inflation rate of 28.27. So basically, that same job you will be asking for really about 270 now. So that'd be about 50 to $60,000 more, right? And it's showing you that. Okay. So now that you had it in your head, thank you for saying one for that. Um, just to be in true transparency, I turned down the offer because it wasn't enough. Just in true transparency there. Let me see, where did that offer go? Okay, right. All right, cool. All right, so what you see here was a total of 251. So let's break this down. So you get 210,000. Let's pull out our calculator here so we can go through the numbers. So I'm not telling you no lies. So everybody can keep up. All right. All right. So 210,000 times point 0.7 is 147,000. I'm not going to take out anything for 401k or anything like that. We're just going to divide that by 12. We're just going to say after taxes you'll be pulling in 12,250 a month. If you divide that by two, it'll be 61.25 per paycheck. 61.25 per paycheck, right? All right. So with that 61.25 per paycheck, or if we go back, multiply by two, 12,250 a month. Um, your benefits. This is the thing about benefits. Is this is I love how people put these offers together. Um, your estimated value of your benefits include health insurance, dental, vision, and so forth. What they don't say is if they're paying for that 33,600, or is that also coming out your paycheck? Because if that is coming out your paycheck, you need to account for that. Your relocation is a one-time thing. It's not something you get every pay period. It's a one-time thing, and that is taxed. So that 7,500 you get is taxed. So let's go ahead and just take that 7,500, and I'm just gonna be generous and multiply it by point 0.3, and we'll minus 7,500 on that. 2,200 was it? Mm, yeah, it's 5,500. So you do it with 5,500, 5,300. So you really getting 5,300 when you to start. So let's just be clear. And then you got 3 months. You got to wait until you get your 401k. Okay, I get it. Total comp 251 looks good, sounds good. But what you're really living off of is this 210, and possibly a minus of this 33,000 as well too. So I just round that up to 34,000. All right. So the CDC, um, I'll bring this over, sits in an area in Atlanta. And let's get the zip code for that. All right. So 300, I mean, 303,333. All right. So we'll just say apartments in average. Let's go average. Let's see if we can pull it up. Let's see if it'll pull it up for us. All right. So a studio, depending on where you're at, it says, and it, again, it really depends on the market in Atlanta and the zip code. So don't be fooled by these numbers for that area. Cause I looked in that area, and in that area, if you want to be 15 to 20 minutes away, yeah, that was the average for all bedrooms, all type was, yeah, this is more like it was $2,000, right? So again, also considering the area, you also have to consider your commute. You also have to consider what's around there. So let's go to, I'm gonna pull this up, Zillow, and I should use Redfin. And let me look for, yeah, rent. Um, let me deselect. Yep, apply. Okay. So I pulled out what it's like right now. This is what it looks like right now. I'm gonna sort by low to high. So if you can stay, and again, I'm just from the area. Just gotta be careful where you stay at out there. You can stay in the studio for 1,000. You can do 1,100. You can stay here off of Briarcliff. You can do these things. So it depends on who you are. Could you make it? You can make it. Now, the other piece to this was why I turned down the offer. This was around the time, I don't know if you remember this story about the black guy that went jogging and ended up missing. And it was a series of folks that ended up missing out of the CDC. I don't know if you saw that. Uh, Mm, yeah. So here around that time was the death of this guy. They said he died by suicide by drowning. He went out. He was 35 years old. He went out for running. I don't know. I don't know whatever happened to this case here. But he wasn't the first person that ended up missing. He was like the second person ended up missing. But they made a big deal about it and it faded away. But it wasn't the first time this has happened, right? So then when I got to thinking about it, I was like, do I want to be in Atlanta with all of this going on? What does this look like? Is this enough to get down there to live what I want to live? Because at this point, a lot of people, and this, you call me bougie or whatever, at this point, I'm looking like if I'm going back home to Atlanta, I want to live how I want to live, right? I don't want to walk up the steps. And I said this before, I don't want to carry my groceries up 4 flights of steps. I want an option to have an elevator. I want an option to have my own washer and dryer in my apartment. I don't want to go to the laundromat and do that. I also didn't want to have to scrape any snow or anything off my car. Not that like it snow like that in Atlanta, but in case it did, I want the option to have my stuff in a garage. Everybody know they were stealing big time back in Atlanta during that time. More so, I think more so than they do now, in my opinion. But that's my thoughts. So that's why I turned it down. You can call me bougie, you call me whatever. But that's my thoughts. But let's talk about how that job could make you a millionaire. All right. So put a one in the check if you with me. Let's see. So now let's pull this up. And let's get that one. And let's go over to my thing. All right. So my favorite calculator. All right. So 210. We're just gonna I'm just gonna call I'm gonna call the first check a wash. 6,100. I'm gonna call that a wash, and that includes that 6,100 should take care of you for the rest of the month. Um, I don't know what you guys drive or whatnot, and I don't know what your debts are. So I'm just gonna call the 6,100 that you get is gonna be a wash for you. Um, in terms of being able to take care of you for your entire month. I don't know, could you guys live off of $6,100 for a whole month? I'm sure you've done it on less, but in at your age you are right now, could you do it right now? All right, so let's go with 6,100. It's your initial investment. Let's go with 6,100. It's gonna be, and I'm just gonna calculate for the next up until what was that? I'm gonna do it for 7 years. And we're gonna say we're gonna rate of return. We're seeing a rate of return about 8 so far. We're gonna do 2. All right, so I'm just playing with numbers. I'm saying 6,100 is what you're gonna invest because you're gonna invest that. You're gonna do a monthly contribution of 6,100. You can do more. This could be into a brokerage account. It doesn't necessarily have to be into your 401k. Again, I did not include my numbers for this into your 401k. The length of time is 7 years. And then the rate of return is 8. It's going to be a variance of 2, so between 6 and 10 on the high side. So let's calculate that, what that could look like. So in 7 years, I'm not including your 401k that you're probably going to put into and you're going to get a match. I'm not even including that money. I'm just including what you will have done. So for you, what you would have done, and let me blow this up, in 7 years, you would have made anywhere. Can y'all see that? Let me blow up a little bit more. Now you should be able to see that. You would have made 623,000 on the low end if you only return 6%. And then on the high end, you would have returned 700,000 if you got a rate of return of 10. But if you just did a steady 8, it'll be 663. Now, I did not include your 401k um that you're putting in at 6%, and then they do a match of up to 3.5. So let me go see what that would look like. Let me find a calculator for that. All right. So far we can stick in the middle. We can stick in the middle and say 663,000, or yeah, we could do 663,000. So that's in 7 years. That's saying you threw it into, I don't know, maybe you threw it into VU, maybe you threw it into some ETF, maybe you threw it into Microsoft, maybe you threw it into some stock like Apple, or just following the S&P 500, what have you, right? So you can pick your poison. I'm just showing you what that could look like. All right, so now let's find a 4-1 calculator. Um, all right, so let me see if this is gonna give us what we need. All right, so I'm just gonna say somebody is 40 years old. I'm gonna say you're putting in your salary is 210,000. I don't know. I'm just gonna say your 401k balance is 6,100. I'm just gonna go with my numbers there. Um, and your employee match limit is 3.5, right? No, is that right? Oh no, it said up to 6%, and then they say 3.5 here. And what are you contributing out of your 401k? So, is that 25%? We'll say 25%. Is that right? Let me get my calculator out here. 210 times 0.25, and then divide that by 12. That's a lot. That's not it. So you can go only up to 23,000. So yeah, that come out to 1916 a month. We'll just go with the 10%. But since of your salary. All right, we'll give 65, 85. Yes, annual return. We're gonna bump that one up to 8. Okay, let's calculate that one. Better yet, let me go back. I only want to do it for 7 years. Let's go for the 47 here. All right. It's saying that at 47, it would be at 226,000. The other one is 663. Well, almost at a million right there. So let me go back to my calculator, and we'll do the 663 plus the I'll do 227. So you'll be almost a millionaire. You'll be $200,000 short. So probably in 8 years, you could be a millionaire with your 401k and your brokerage account. Does everybody see how I did that? I'm not including that you're probably gonna go shopping and something bad happen. We're just gonna say everything good happened. I'm just including that. I didn't put away for an emergency fund. I didn't do none of that. I'm just pointing out, here's the money. You go invest into something. I'll even change it to a 6% return. We can do that. But I mean, that's not bad. In 7 years, you could do that. Is that, do you think that is realistic? Put a one in the chat if you think it's realistic. Put a two in the chat if you think it's not. I'm only going up 7 years. I could spread this out over 10 years. If we went over what I think you can do, a 10 year, have a 10 to 15-year goal, you could do that. All right, so let's go and change this back to a you're 40, and then let's make this a 15-year goal. Let's make this at 55. Again, it's including the expected release. I'm gonna change this from 8 to 7. Um, shouldn't see that much of a difference. Okay, so just here alone, just in your 401k, by the time you're 55, you'll see 683. All right. By the time you're 55, let's come over here to this calculator and let's expand this out. We're saying 7 years. I went out on this one 15 years. I'm going to change this to 7 and let's see what we get. So just this alone is 1.8. With this one right here, it's 683,000. It says it's a fixed purchasing power monthly 3262 a month can be withdrawn from the age of 56. But I'm just showing you what this could look like. And that's from one job. Now, what does this not take into account for? It doesn't take into account for you got sick. It doesn't take into account that you're not at the job anymore. Um, it doesn't take into account it doesn't take into account that you don't contribute nothing to your 401k. Maybe you don't contribute to your 401k. Maybe you do everything in a brokerage account. It doesn't take into account that someone may get married, someone may have kids, they may have a sibling that gets sick, somebody needs some money or something like that. It does not take into account all those things that could happen in life. I'm just solely focused on what it could look like. Could you borrow against this money? Could you take that money out and do something else with it? Absolutely. I'm just showing you what that could look like, and also showing you what your options are, right? You may not do anything into your 401k. You may do everything over here where you can again have a variance here when it's showing you right here. You'll be at one point between 1.5 to 2.1, and that's in 15 years at $6,100 a month. Now remember that $6,100 a month also increases because you get a raise, right? Now, let's talk about you leaving a job. If you left the job, let's say in 5 years, and you started out at 210, are you gonna go and get a job in 5 years that's gonna pay you 210? Your answer should be no. You're not gonna go get a job that's paying you 210 because you have had pay raises since then. And it's not the fact that you've adjusted your lifestyle to living at that 210. You are working towards your end goal of retirement, right? So let's look at what that looks like. So let's come up with a salary. All right. So yeah, 210. We did 15. That's 2018. And we said 15 years. So your minimum you should be looking at is 254, right? And a lot of you will say, "Do jobs pay that?" Absolutely, they do. But in this time, you probably spoken at conferences. You probably traveled to conferences. You've also invested in yourself in a skill set. You've also started looking at maybe some real estate you can buy. You've also started looking at possible supplemental income. You might have gotten married, you might have gotten divorced. There are things that have happened in this time span. And to sit here and think that you can't make this work and become that millionaire is crazy to me, right? And that's on one job. Now remember, if you dip off this job in 5 years, um then you should be making whatever it is where you're at and more, at least by 25,000, 30,000 if you ask, if you keep up with inflation, right? So if you're at in 5 years, so 2018, 2023, so your next jump should be another 25,000 or 30,000. You can round it up to 290, 300 if you want to. That's what you should be looking at. Now, if you don't want to make that 290 or 300, what are you going to do to supplement that? Remember, you still at whatever I picked 40, you still got time to grow. You could start a business, you could do other things, right? I don't know, D. I think we lost them out there. I think I might have lost them. Is my microphone on? Hmm. Awfully quiet today. Awfully quiet. All right. So here with this job, this is just the one that you could have worked for 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, right? D funny, I could cut the line. I'm just showing you how to make these jobs work for you and your family, right? All right, so let's go one step further. One step further. Let's say you get this job and you're like, you know what? I gotta dip out in 3 years. So let's go 2021. All right. In 2021, you would have been at 226,000. All right. At 2021, you would have been at 226,000. So let's see what that is monthly. Not gross. I'm going after taxes. So after taxes, we're about 13,200, right? 13,200, right? And let me divide that by two. So you're about 65, you're about 6,600 now. You're at 6,600, all right? And let me get back to my other calculator here. Yeah, 6,600. I don't know where it went, but that's okay. We'll bring it up right here. So we'll say now. Let's keep in mind. Let's really do some math. No thanks. Um, you started out with that 210. You started out with that 6,100. You've been into it for 3 years. Let's just do some math. Let me get a text pad out. All right, I got text pad out. So let's say you was at 6,100. You did 6,100. You did it for 3 years. We'll do 7 or 8. It don't matter. To and calculate. So in 3 years, you'll be at 200 and you could be at 242,000. 242,000, right? And you say you're gonna bounce to another job. You're at 226,000 for that job. You don't like how things are moving. You're at 226,000. Your next job is gonna pay you, I don't know, 30, 40,000 more. We're gonna go with 30,000 for right now. And you'll be at 256,000. Yeah, yeah, that's fine. All right. So now let's take that and multiply that by 0.7 and then divide that by 12. And that'd be 14 divided by 2. So now you at 7,500 a month. All right. So now you're at 7,500 a month on your new job. So now your new base is 242,803. You putting in 7,500, and you say you're gonna stay on the job. You don't want to hop no more. You setting yourself up because you already worked 3. You're gonna work here 5. You may even work there a little longer. Let's go with 7 years. And you may stay there a little bit. But let's just play. We're gonna play with numbers. So that calculation is 1.168 million in 7 years. Your first job in your 401k, you got 242. This next one, you was like, I can live off. You showed that you can live off the 6,100. Now you got 7,500 to live off of. You living off of 7,500. You take the other 75 and you're investing the entire 7,500. You can pick and choose where you want to put that at. I'm just showing you numbers. You putting in something that's going to give you over 7 years a rate of return of 7%. And then, again, I played with numbers here because it could be between 7, it could be 5, it could be 7, it could be 9. If it's 9, you're at 1.2. If it's 5, you're at a million. If you're in between, it's 1.1. So 1.12. You're a millionaire in 10 years off of one job. Is that enough to sustain you the rest of your life? Probably not, depending on depending on your situation. You could get an inheritance. You could hit the lottery. You could do so many other things. I'm just pointing out, here are the things that you all could be doing or could be earning off of one job. So let's talk how everyone else talks on the internet. You get a job, you get hired on, the job pays you 55,000 a year. And let's take out for taxes, because this is how everybody else talks online. And then let's divide that by 12. That's 3,200 a month, and divide that by 2. Can you live off of $1,600 for the whole month? Put a 1 in the chat if you can. Put a 2 in the chat if you can't. Can you live off of $1,600 for the whole month? This including paying your car note, your rent, your whole nine. Can you do it? And people tell me that people do it all the time. I'm seeing twos come through. I'm seeing twos come through. What's up with the twos? Y'all listen. Online they say y'all can do it. That's your son's tuition. Your rent. I've been trying to tell people they like y'all live above your means, and you supposed to go find you a roommate and stay in a shack for $600 to $800 a month, right? I'm just pointing out what people are saying. When you put this into perspective on the numbers, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. 2,900, 1,600. You said you can live off of that, but you won't have a place to live in. All right, so we're gonna do the numbers. We're gonna play. I'm gonna play this game. So you earn 1,600 a month. I mean, you earn 1,600 every paycheck, 3,200 a month. All right. So for shits and giggles, I'm going to say that you put away $150 a month. Okay. You're gonna start with your initial investment of 150. You're gonna start with your next initial investment. I mean your next monthly at 7. We're gonna do that annually, calculate. At the end of 7 years, you'll have $15,000. I'm just putting it in perspective because everybody on the internet likes to talk. And they don't never show these numbers. So I'm showing you these numbers how it don't make sense to me. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I'm just saying in 7 years you only have saved up $15,000 because you only way putting 150 because you don't have no money to put away because you don't have it, right? You see how big of a difference that is? And then if we go really look at it, the most you would have saved in 7 years is $16,000, right? Now we could take this one step further. Let's go over here to your 401 calculator. Let's say you 40, you earn 55,000 a year. Your 401k balance is $150. We're gonna keep the same thing there. We're gonna leave this and we're gonna do it for 7 years here. So 47. Let's look at it. You would have put away in your 401k now. This is in your 401k. In your 401k, they say you'll have about 54,000 in 7 years. Let me see. Did I do this one for 7? Yep. 7 at 150. Let me make sure I put 150 in my monthly contribution. 40. Oh, it's not 10%. That's another problem. 55,000. It's not 10%. You ain't putting away 10%. That's a lie. So 55,000. Mm, wrong way. Mm. But what about 3%? Yeah, that's right. It's about 3%. All right. So that's what it looks like in your 401k. So in your pockets, you'll be about 16. In their pockets, you'll be about 16. Right? About 32,000 total in 7 years. In 7 years, that's what you have saved. And you all are telling me that you can make it off of this and that you can raise a family and you can be set up for retirement. I did it at the age of 40, from 40 to 47, right? I'm just showing you facts, that's all. Um Okay, right. The median earnings, let me see. The median earnings for black women from 40 to 49, based on Social Security data now, is 41,900. The one for men, for black men, 51,000. Let me go back here because you guys don't believe these things. So when you come in here and you look at the chart, let me scoot it over here. Let me expand this. So from 40 to 49, right? We're at 41,900. And this is for women. And then white women and Asian women I earn black women. Right? Now when we start getting this for men, and let me see if I can switch this, if I could just I wonder if I could just say men right here. If I just delete that, would it give me men? Yes. All right. So for men, from 50 to 59 for black men, it go down 47,000. Your highest earning period for black men is from 40 to 49. Once you hit 50, your earning potential goes down. So this is or it's reflect this is what it's showing. I ain't saying that you don't make more money. I'm just showing you what the stats say. All right. So when we're in here and we're doing this with our calculator, and I'm telling you to go work in tech, I'm telling you, just in my experience, I think you got a good 10 to 15 years of earning potential. Could it be 20? Yes. But I think you really got a good 10 to 15 years. Now what you do with that time is important. How you look at the market, what's going on, paying attention, where you buy your house at, the neighborhoods, the zip codes, what you do with your money, all of that matters. You said that's encouraging to know that you did it at $40. Those numbers that you're pulling, how much would we have to live off of? Well, again, the numbers that I was pulling was based off the job description, right? It was based off the job description. The job description was for 210,000, right? You take that 210,000, multiply that by point 0.7 for taxes and whatever else, and divide that by 12. That's what you're living off of monthly. What does that look like over a 10-year period? And when I say a 10-year period, that doesn't necessarily mean you stay at the same job for 10 years. You can jump, but you need to know how to jump, right? Everybody keeping up with what I'm talking about? Let me know if I need to explain that again. I'm gonna do it one more time. All right. So let's change this to 2025. Make it realistic for you. So in 2025, you made 210,000. You say you're gonna stay in that job for the next, I don't know, 10 years. We'd go 10 years. So in 10 years, look at this, using a rate of inflation of 2.5, that's a lie. But we'll say that. You only be at 268, right? Let's bump it up to 3. Let's be nice. All right, 282. That look a little better. All right. So at 3%, In 2035, you will be at $282,000. Let's say you did it for 10 years, right? All right. So it's showing you here that in 2026, you could be at 216. At 2028, you'll be at 229, and so forth and so on, right? Okay, good. You follow. Now, the reason why I did not include the 401k, because we know 401k changes every year, but not by that much. So right now, what is it, 23,500 for your 401k, the most you can put in? Yeah, 23,500 is the most you can put in if you're under the age of 50. And the most that you could put in for your HSA is 4,300. Yep. So if we go back to our calculator and we do 4,300 plus our 23,500, this is what you putting in pre-tax. Pre-tax. So your 210, I'm just round this up to $28,000 for simple math here. Minus 28,000. Oh, that's right. So that's 182,000. Now we take that and multiply that by 0.7 and then divide that by 12. That's 10 grand a month. That's really what your true take home is. Exactly. Cannabis, it's too linear, but again, you have to include things over time for that, right? So I took out for your 401k here and your HSA. Not to say that you got to contribute. I'm just showing what it would look like if you did contribute, right? And MG Cannabis, you say it's too linear, but that's that's the truth, right? You could be working for 10 years. You could literally take a job and be at 210 and then 2028 get laid off for a month, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 6 weeks, who knows? Do a 1099 contract coming back in, working at the same 229 or more, and still continue on, right? What you're saying is too linear is the fact that you lose a job. But what if you never lose a job? Or if you did lose a job, you still increased your income each time. We got 10 years. I know people who've been employed at companies for 25 years. Some people have been employed and stayed at a company for 60 years. In fact, she retired in September. I'm just saying it's possible. Is it the norm? In some cases it used to be the norm. It's some people who worked at General Motors for years, Ford for years. It's not out of the norm, right? That generation is dying, but it's people who worked at the Boeings, the Lockheed Martins. They've been there 10, 15, 20 years. They ain't never going anywhere. They just gonna ride that thing out. Let's see. Average length of time for Boeing employees. Yep. So right here, It says, for example, employees on the 737 program may have an average tenure of 5 years, while those on the 77 program may be there 15 to 20 years. It's not uncommon in these aerospace companies that somebody has been there 10 to 15 years. And you can substitute that out for Raytheon as well too. Average length of Raytheon stays approximately about 6.6 years. While some employees stay longer, they may leave within a few years, with 27% being from 1 to 2 years. So we got some at 6.6. So, like I say, about 7 years. I think most people stay at a company anywhere from 3 to 7 is usually what I see right now. The 10, 15 years, I don't see those, but as often. But they're there. They're out there. It's no different than somebody going into the Navy or the Air Force and retiring in 20 years. It says it's possible, but with this economy and also real light skill set, job change is, well, most people. That's what I'm saying. People, I'm not accounting for people losing money while they're changing jobs, because I think most people know, if I get this job at this rate, I need to put away for a rainy day. So I'm going to stack as much as I can for a 6 month to a year possible of a job loss. And if I go to another job, I'm not going to take less than what I make right now, because it doesn't make sense to lose the money because it takes so long to get it back. Now, if someone loses the money, they know within that company they can make a dip into another area of the company in order to make that money. That's great to know. People, major contractors have long term employment. I'm noticing that too. People with big companies like, yeah, NG, yeah, those people that be in the NG, MITRE, uh, L3 Harris, they stick around for a long time, right? People who work at the places like Rackspace, they've been there forever. They'll stick around forever at those companies. They'll do a 5 year, a 6 year, 10 year, right? They'll do that. Those that work at Raytheon, they just move from project to project within Raytheon, and it's depending on skill set. Now, when you get outside and you start talking about your Googles and your Apples and all of those, I see people dipping on those all the time. But I can tell you, they do not dip all the time on the federal side of those companies, because again, they're giving them bonuses of 45,000, or to keep a clearance, or a bonus of this, or bonus of that. So those people don't dip, they just stay because they just want the money. People just literally want the money. It's the same way with Disney. People who work at Netflix and Disney, they don't dip like that. They stay because they know the company got longevity and they're comfortable and they don't mind the 3% pay increase. They just know every year they're gonna get their money. Yep, yep, resilient. And that's what I'm saying. I'm just showing you how you could take a job and become a millionaire. I'm not even talking about Dave Ramsey follow his steps, the 7 baby steps. I'm just literally talking about living on one paycheck and investing, right? Yeah, bonus a 90K to 120K. Yeah, right? But again, when we're in these other spaces, you guys hear all this talk about the 40,000, the 50,000, the 55,000, the 57,000. I just think that conversation is dead. And I think we have to, in order to see the bigger picture, to see what it could be, you're gonna have to have those conversations so you could see the numbers, right? And somebody will tell you that it's not that one a offer letter for me or whatnot, but it's literally right there from September the 28th of 2018. Like, it's literally right there. Um and the location and them. So that's from 2018. And I'm just showing how you could take that one job and become a millionaire in that one job, and damn near close to a millionaire in that one job in 7 years. Imagine staying there for 10, right? So just showing you that. All right. So now the other side to this that doesn't get talked about enough is how to look for the jobs that give you the best bang for your buck. In other words, money is one part, but benefits is a whole nother other part, right? No one talks about the benefit side. So you're like, Tamika, what do you mean about benefits? What are you talking about? All right, so I'm gonna talk about this. Let me make sure it's nothing else here I want to talk about because I have a whole nother show that I wanted to do and ended up here, but I'll hold on to this one. We'll talk about the future of technology and infrastructure. We'll do that. Yeah, I had, like I say, Trump's era with digital assets, whatnot. Had a whole new whole other show. Uh, the U.S. government moves towards a national crypto reserve. I want to talk about that. I got 30 minutes. I'm gonna have to squeeze these last little ones in here. How Vance owns investments in companies receiving defense contracts. Talk about that. I got a whole, like I said, I got a whole list of stuff. All right, so let's talk about benefits, and then we're gonna slide into these topics that I want to talk about that are fun topics for me to talk about because I don't think you guys are really paying attention to what's happening out here, what's going on, what the investment looks like, and how you can do these things. Okay, so um, let's go to, let me see. All right, now these are rare companies. I can admit that, but once you know, you know. All right, so benefits. So Zeta is one company. We'll go over Raytheon benefits as well. I'll go do a deeper dive on that as well because benefits change and some things are different. All right, so I those who know. I am gonna pull out the spreadsheet. D and Heather, the spreadsheet will be making an appearance today. In fact, let me pull it up. Not the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet. Let me find her. Yes, Heather, the spreadsheet. All right. So benefits. Not the spreadsheet. Yes. All right. So, for example, when we talk about benefits, now I'm gonna go over Raytheon. You saw the one with that job offer, and you wonder why I turned things down, or what was my thought process of why I did something. What am I looking at? This, that, and another. Sometimes I'm looking for money. Sometimes I'm looking for benefits, and sometimes I'm just greedy. I can't help it. I'm on the low end of the total pole. Meta is offering open AI engineers $100 million in a bonus. Who cares about this little $226,000 I'm talking about? It's peanuts. It's peanuts in the game. We're talking about practice, right? Practice, right? So, um, again, let's get to the benefits. All right. So you can see here Zeta contributes to 25% of your annual salary to what they call an individual benefits account, which is your IBA. This is a legal thing you can do. You can go and look on the IRS to find out what this type of 401k is called. Right. Right. It said this account is used to help cover your cost of health benefits and paid time off. The plan offers employees flexibility to choose how they spend the money based off their own individual family needs. The IBA can be used to pay for the following: medical, dental, child care, uh, eye care, prescription costs, so forth and so on. All right. Zeta also gives you 8 weeks time off, or 320 hours of paid time off a year that is inclusive of your vacations and so forth and on. It's called time off with pay. And then Zeta contributes to an amount to your 401k of your annual salary of 25%. So let's go back to our good old buddy offer that we got for 210,000, and let's show you what that looks like when we're talking about benefits, and this is where I'm getting into it. All right. So saying here at college 40 plus. Yep. So here we got 210 that they offered. But this is say Zeta, or a company like Zeta is offering you 25% to your 401k. All right, so that 25% into your 401k is right here. That is that 52,500 that you get every year. What they don't tell you is that can also be more than that, because it could be that they give you 25% of what you make monthly, or you could, in some of these companies they pay hourly. So you may see 210, and let's break that down. Let's go here. All right, so that's 210,000 divided by 2088, or is it 2080? Either or. I think it's 2080, and we'll go back. 2080. So still okay. $101 an hour is what you're. Got it right here. $100.57, whatever, is what you're getting. That's fine. That's your hourly rate. But say you work, say monthly, you may work 100 and you're slotted to work 186 hours. But let's say you worked um uh, um 220 hours that month, and you multiply that by what you get paid hourly. So that's 220, that's, I mean, $22,125. And you multiply that by 0.25. And so now, instead of uh instead of instead of uh your monthly deposit every month being something else, you just take that 52,500 and divide that by 12. And I can multiply this by 12 to tell you what the difference is. So now you can see, now you're getting paid, you're getting, let's say you average that, let's say you get $66,000 in a year, because you're averaging over what your monthly could be. So this right here can increase, and as your 401 went into your 401k. So now you're getting paid 66,000 into your 401k. Now let's now do this math, and let's show you what that looks like for someone who seeks these type of benefits and stays with a company and does it for, let's do our 10-year run and our 15-year run. Everybody with me so far? Let's do a 401k calculator. Thought I had it up here. Mhm. Mhm. This is where calculators make it hard because they don't account for things like this. So we're gonna do a 10 year. This will change that to 50. Yeah, that's fine. Um, let's I think that was 6,100. We'll say you're just starting off at 6,100. Okay, this is where it gets tricky because there's no match on that. And then they say, "What is your contribution?" Let's say I don't do anything, and then I don't know. That this is where it gets hard. See, this is where it gets hard because that's not true. See, 25%. Yeah, see, this is where it gets hard because most calculators don't account for this. You see what I'm saying? So this is what I end up having to do. Let's go back to this here. We know that we're gonna get 52,500 at the end of the first year. All right, and so I'm just gonna account this like this. This is why I use the investor.gov one because the calculators don't really speak to it like that. All right, so we'll say 52,000. I think it's 52,500. Your monthly contribution is actually the employer's contribution. You're not going to do anything. So what is that? And I'm just doing basic numbers right now. 43.75. We're going to do 10 years. We're going to do an interest rate. We'll do the 7, do the variance of 2, and we'll just calculate that. So in 10 years, it could be $828,000. That's not you contributing. That's just the employer contributing. And that's not taking into the account that you may fluctuate with your money in terms of like you may contribute as well too, right? That's just you contributing. I mean, that's just them contributing. If you contributed every month at your 23,500, I think it's 1916. 1958 plus 43.75. So 63.33. And then after a year, boom, boom. So at 10 years, that's what it looks like. That's just in your 401k. That's not me including it playing the stock market as well. Right? That's not, what it I'm just going by like you got a rate of return. You could do a rate of return of 5 if you wanted to. If you want to put this in a high yield savings account, that's what it would look like. If you don't want to do that many years, you can do 7. You could do 7% here. Calculate that. You'll be at 740. So this is saying, hey, in 7 years at 7% interest, 2% variance, be at 741,000. Right. All right. So that's what that looks like. But wait, there's more. So on this site here, they talk about this time off with pay at 320 hours. You don't have to take time off. So we could take that 320 and multiply by that 100.57 or something like that. So that's $32,180 that you can get back. I'm just being generous, and I think they charge you 22%. So I'm just being over here. See, times point 0.7. Sorry. So you could get back an additional 16,000. It could be more because you put more time in, right? It could be the 52,000 that you uh have it totaled up at the end multiplied by point 0.7. And so you could get back $36,000 into you in a paycheck. And then you can take that 36,000 and go plop that somewhere and have it make money. Right? But I did a whole episode on this on 124 or Tech Stocks and Jobs, I think it was, on how to become a W-2 millionaire. Right? This is not, people who been here know this ain't nothing new. I've been talking about this forever. Right? Now, the other piece to this that I don't think gets talked about enough is the other benefits outside of your 401k, your HSA, but your learning benefits, like having a actual set of pot of money for you to go learn. What does that look like? What does it look like to go to a conference? What does it look like to create um to write a book about your stuff and earn money that way, create a course? um what's it look like for you to have invested into creating an open source project? I mean, there's so many other benefits that at your job that you could do and be a part of as well too, especially if you're working at a company like a Red Hat or something like that, where you become an IC or individual contributor on steroids. All right. Last but not least, Dee sent out this worksheet here where you can download this worksheet um here. And I think this is a pretty good worksheet. There's other ones out there, but basically it goes into what do you have into your assets and so forth. And you could take this and utilize that same job that I talked about, paying 210, and what that would look like for you, and then include your real estate and so forth. And look, and you can there's another one out there, I have to find it, that can show you what your value would be over time. Say you start out with a savings account, and let's say you got $40,000 in a savings account, but you make a monthly contribution to your savings account. You may make a monthly contribution of $500 a month to a savings account. Now that savings account doesn't necessarily be just a regular savings account. It could be a high yield savings account. It could be a brokerage account that you treat as a savings account. It could be a number of things. You could use your Robinhood account as your savings account if you wanted to. But again, it depends on what you're in that Robinhood account, and depends on what you're in, right? So then you got your brokerage account, you got your retirement accounts, and then anything you own as far as like land, or you may own a laundromat or what have you. Like this what this is for. And then they get down in here to your principals and your homes and jewelry and so forth. Then they come talk about your liabilities and your long term debt and so forth, to only come up with your net worth. I advise you all to go and look at what your net worth is. A lot of people do it once a year. I'm greedy. I do mine more than that. I want to see the numbers move. I want to see the numbers move. All right. Let me back out of this so you can see that you can download this. Yeah. So here it is right here. You can share, you can open the file, you can go into presentation mode. Like I can put this in presentation mode. Just something that you all can keep up with every day. You can go to a spreadsheet or what have you. Yep, you can use Empower too. So, which brings me to my next thing that I want you all to utilize. Um, it's free. I haven't played with it yet, but go play with it and let me know. But let me go here. So, Bolden's Monte Carlo simulation. What is Monte Carlo? All right. So, if you ever talk to an advisor or a wealth manager or whatnot, they all do these predictions using the Monte Carlo. There are other wealth algorithms that you can use, but Monte Carlo is usually the one that I hear everyone always talk about. So the other night I was listening to Rob Berger, which I like his take on stuff. I'm not shouting him out. I'm just telling you that I like how he breaks things down when it comes to what he's talking what wealth. Let me say it that way. Him and my other guy. All right, so here is the Monte Carlo simulation, and I'm gonna pull up Investopedia too to talk about the Monte Carlo. All right. All right. So here we got the Monte Carlo. What is it and how it works? Nice little ad. Move. Thank you. All right. All right. The Monte Carlo is Monte Carlo simulation is a way to model the probability of different outcomes in the process that cannot be easily predicted due to the intervention of random variables. It is a technique used to understand the impact of risk and uncertainty. You see this in a ton of videos that they do. This particular website that I'm talking about actually has a free offer. There are some others that have free offers as well too. I'm going to play with this today, just to feed in all my stuff into there and just to see what my outcome would be if I do this or if I do that. And we'll talk about if I do in a minute. The Monte Carlo simulation can be applied to a range of problems in many fields, including investing, businesses, physics, and engineering. Right? Monte Carlo helps to simulate or forecast a range of possibilities resulting by simulating the impact of randomness in the system. So, say if I wanted to retire, if I'm 40 and I wanted to retire at 47, but in that time frame I want to buy a Winnebago. What is the effect of my retirement? How's buying that Winnebago in that time frame going to affect my retirement? And is that a and does it prolong me working longer, or is it a bad deal, right? So that's usually how you'll see people use this Monte Carlo, right? And it also says the Monte Carlo simulations are increasingly used in conjunction with artificial intelligence, right? A lot of on the finance side, a lot of back end, especially when it comes to AI, pulling your results of how often do you buy, your zip codes that you live in. What does it look like for your city and say 15 years? Should you be in that city? Should you move somewhere else? What fits your lifestyle? All these things can be taken into consideration, but again, you may not you you may not think about it, but should be something that you think about, right? Does the city that you're living in now, is that a city that you're going to stay in for your retirement? Do you have another location? Are you looking at a vacation home? Are you looking at to buy something before you retire? All those things. I know some people are like, "Hey, I don't need the fancy car, but I would like the fancy car." Well, what does it look like for you to want to buy it? Like how does that affect your income, your retirement, and so forth, right? And so they said the Monte Carlo simulations have a vast array of applications and fields that are plagued by random variables, notably business and investing, right? So that's what they talk about here with the Monte Carlo. So now let us go to here. All right, so here is um just a take on the Monte Carlo simulation from Bolden. And they're talking about, hey, you can do linear simulations, non-linear methods, historical simulation, the Monte Carlo simulation. And I think this is what you're talking about earlier, um, engineering cannabis. But what I was showing was not taking into the fact of you having all these other factors. It's just taking to effect straight income, earning potential, what it could look like, boom. Now you can flip that and take all of this and say, now I'm going to take all of the things that I know I can do, or all the debt I know I have, all the things, all my earning potential in ways I can make money, and then I'm going to throw it into this simulation and come up with what I could look like in 10, 15, 20 years. That's it, right? But it's on you to do this. So they go over overview of it. They talk about Bolden requires you to input an average rate of return based on the performance history of your asset allocation, or rely upon your portfolio models when entering your retirement and other accounts into the platform. Your rate of return serve as a basis for our Monte Carlo analysis, and it goes through 1,000 iterations, calculating a normal distribution curve or bell curve and potential outcomes. Like, hey, you may want to, say, in 5 years, buy that nice car, whatever that nice car is for you, right? And come up with what's, again, is that you buying that car going to affect your retirement or your goal? Are you still going to be sustainable? You really want to be as close to 90% as possible. And then it go into like the standard deviations and so forth. So I encourage you all to read these things, because this is how, not only using that calculator, that spreadsheet I gave you for net worth, but this is how you can use this to calculate what your next job should be, and also use this to calculate where you want to be. And I say that because people's like, "Oh, I got to go get a job." No, you need to get a career, and you need to utilize these things in order for forward progress. So you can make the money, but if the money isn't working for you, if you're not investing it, if you're not doing the right things, then it doesn't work. You just always be able to make money. And I'm just telling you from somebody from experience. Should I have been retired 10 years ago? Yes, absolutely. Retired 10 years ago, feet propped up. But then, would I have been bored? Would it have been enough? Right? So those are things you got to consider and take into account. So I'm going to give you me taking in how I'm going to look at this. My answer is probably going to be no on this, but I don't know. We'll see. So I may not do it. We'll see. I let you guys give me your thoughts. Oh, let me get out of that mode. All right. Put in the comments yes or no. What are your thoughts? What's going on, one? Yes or no? Put a one in the chat if you like. Put a two in the chat if you say no. One in the chat if you like. Two if you say no. Oh, I got a no already. The other little baby is gone. Farida's like, go for it. Everybody else is still thinking about it. Kevin said no. I would love to hear the why on the nose. I think it's a car preference. When it comes to that, because I sure enough be seeing a lot of Escalades running around. I'm not an Escalade fan. I don't need nothing that big. I like sports cars. Got a one. It's a tie right now. Who gonna break the tie? Tony G broke the tie. Tony G said go for it. All right. So now, how do I justify the purchase if the goal is to retire? How do you justify the purchase? Right. So there's a couple of things that you have to take in consideration. A Cybertruck. There's a couple of things you gotta take into consideration. Number one is maintenance. Number two is the increase in value over time. So it kind of leads into another point that I want to make before we get out of here. And also um insurance. And there's an and when you go to sell this, what would that look like? So I'm gonna give you from the standpoint of me talking to several dealers. Um doo, doo, doo. This right here, this little word right here, tariffs, has caused an explosion in imports. So what you are seeing in a lot of the cars, in a lot of the um, just cars in general, is people are paying overpriced for cars. And when I say people, the dealers are paying overpriced for cars because they're not shipping in cars anymore. I don't think Porsche shipped in. I don't think Porsche shipped in any cars last year. Look, let's see. Most Porsches are bought in the U.S. They're not doing good in China. Now they said they delivered. Was it Porsche or was it? It was somebody that didn't deliver that didn't deliver any cars this year. And what you're starting to see also with the tariffs is not just the cars, especially the foreign cars and the parts and so forth and so on. You're also starting to see that. You're also starting to see that effect on food as well as common household goods. So just be on the lookout of things. I think now is time to stock up. It's been time to stock up, more so than ever before. It's also time to again get your own house in order. Make sure things are lined up the way you want to. I think we've seen all the layoffs happening. What is it? 15,000 laid off, another 21,000 layoffs. All right, we've seen all those layoffs over the past couple of weeks. See, State Department lays off 1,300 people. Um, who else did layoffs this week? Intel did their big layoff. How many did they lay off? See, they laid off 2,400 in Hillsboro. Uh, was another set of layoffs as well too. When somebody had like 15,000 or 21,000. Yeah, Intel is reportedly planning to lay off over 21,000 employees. That's what I thought it was. And 21,000 from IBM. And you got to look at where these people are going to go work at. Also, not only where they're going to work at, what are they going to do? And then can some of those people get jobs? Can they come back and get jobs? That's the question. Are they employable after the layoff? So this is why I say I think tech is a 10 to 15-year thing. You could on the infrastructure side, you could stay a very long time, but you'll probably get tired. But again, knowing that these things are available and what you can do to make your money. And so when you come up to that 10-year or that 15-year mark, you could like, I could dip and go do this, or I could dip and go do that. All right. I'm gonna end it on this. The future of technology infrastructure. All right. So I want to talk about this because everybody slips out and does different things. I am an infrastructure girl. I just know it pays and it works. So here's some trends that they're talking about. AI native infrastructure. Let me blow that up. Oh yay. And let me see, yeah. And yeah, blow that back out. Yeah, there we go. AI is no longer an optional workload. From generative AI models to real time inference engines, AI is becoming embedded across every digital workflow. This shift requires a rethinking of traditional infrastructure, massive deployments of GPUs, tensor processing units, TPUs, and custom AI accelerators. Data centers now designed for liquid cooling, immersive immersion cooling, and high density racks reaching around 70 kilowatts, increased demand for low latency interconnects, and direct AI pipeline orchestration across multiple cloud environments, right? Again, we are talking about you could be in infrastructure forever. You could be that 200,000, that 210,000, you can make that for the next 10, 15 years plus, right? When I say 210 plus, I mean that's 210 plus, right? Because you're going to get your pay increase. You can do that forever. You can go to work in multiple data centers. You can go work at multiple companies on the infrastructure side, on the DevOps side, observability side, working with different workloads. You could do it with the cloud. You could do it on prem. It could be hybrid. It could be just on prem. It could just be in the cloud. It could be a number of things. It is there for you. It is all up to you whether you want to go after it or not. Second, edge architecture redefines proximity, surge and edge data centers, micro data centers, AI inference workloads from hyperscalers to edge nodes, reducing latency and bandwidth costs. Multi-cloud matures into intercloud integration. Enterprises have moved past the debate between this cloud or that cloud. Now we're in both clouds, and we have workloads that may do both things. Milet, thank you for joining and becoming a member. I can't see which member you are, but I appreciate you for becoming a member. Strategic implication. Infrastructure as code goes mainstream. Modern infrastructure is built like software. Developers and DevOps teams now expect to provision, version, and manage infrastructure through code just like they do applications. Widespread use of tools like Terraform, Pulumi, AWS CloudFormation, infrastructure as code. Infrastructure tied directly to Git repositories with version control and CI/CD pipelines. Disaster recovery, rollbacks, blue-green deployments, right? Again, companies will need infrastructure engineers who code automation And security policy as code is no longer enough to just know hardware. You must know YAML, JSON scripting to build infrastructure. You need to know that now. This ain't no change. This ain't new. You need to know that 5 years ago. You need to know how to do that 5 years ago. Now you just need to add AI to it. You don't need to worry about memorizing. Oh, yeah, you can go take the exam for Terraform or Vault or whatever. But truth be told, once you take the exam, you can sit down with Nipper GPT or Chat GPT or whatever you want. Tell it what you want, create the prompts, get the code, then start playing with the code. You can use Copilot. The need to know is there. The need to move quickly is more than just needing to know, right? So again, these things are real. These are real things. um Green infrastructure, energy transparent, climate alignment. This is again sustainability, right? And then understanding how to cool systems and so forth. But these things right here, AI ops usher into autonomous infrastructure management. AI ops for IT platforms are stepping in to deliver predictive insights and automated remediation. Again, that's where we're going there. Datadog, Dynatrace. Dynatrace now works with on-prem, or I should say DoD, and standalone. So it's something to consider there. Real estate transforms for digital age. The rise of digital infrastructure is reshaping real estate from rural data center campuses to suburban edge deployments, with the future is being built connected land, not commercial towers. Traditional developers repurposing properties into edge nodes and telco hubs. Zoning conflicts over hyperscale data centers in residential zones. New valuation models that prioritize digital asset latency advantages and connectivity density. Don't get it twisted that they will not use AI. If you don't think they're going to use AI for predicting where the next $1 million markets are going to be and build houses there, and your mother or your grandmother and them and your folks are giving up land and space and selling it off for pennies on a dollar that's going to turn and flip and be worth 1 million or 2 million or so forth, right? With these plots, these little plots of land that somebody's going to come build an entire unit on, and you've given it up for pennies, right? That's going to happen. You're going to see more of that. And they're building in black neighborhoods left and right, buying up black neighborhoods left and right. Additional trends to watch: quantum ready infrastructure. Quantum ready infrastructure. I don't know how many times I'm going to tell y'all, don't sleep. Preparing data centers for cryogenic cooling and shielding and quantum key distribution. Zero trust architecture, infrastructure retool for microsegmentation, continuous authentication, and identity centric access. Bare metal as a service, enterprises skipping virtual layers for performance intensive workloads and cloud like provisioning. Bare metal as a service. Hey, the big person out there that's doing bare metal as a service got bought up earlier this year. Uh, Equinix is the company I'm thinking about. Let's see. Yep. Equinix was a bare metal as a service offering that provide customers with on-demand physical servers with the Equinix global data center and footprint. I was using them for years. Um, Here's their docs right here. They've been around. They're ahead of the game. In fact, they are a ETF. If you go look at data centers ETF, they are a REIT. REIT. They are a REIT. So go look it up. But again, Equinix Metal. So bare metal as a service. I don't want to build in my basement a set of uh servers and so forth. I want to put them into let somebody else do it in their data center. Use AI to provision start provisioning my stuff for me, where now I can just really just drop and drag and then slap OpenShift on there and whatnot, and then it goes out and builds it for me and sends me a login, and I'm done. I don't have to do anything. It's already done for me. But then that's building out a platform that does that for you. So you could be on the other side and build out the platform, or you could be the other side that utilizes the platform. It's twofold, right? Because you could be in a company that builds the platform. You could be in a company that utilizes that platform. An example of that is AWS. AWS has a set of people or a set of developers or whatnot that build out the platform, and they utilize it internally, but then their customers utilize what they built. So it could be twofold there. Yep. Yep. Our first liquid cool wraps for the new gigabyte 200. Yep. Immersive cooling is a thing. I've been looking at that as well. So that is a thing. Where's my article that I was looking at? Yep, right here. All right, infrastructure is a strategic advantage. Infrastructure is no longer just a cost; it's a strategic differentiator. Whether it's delivering AI-driven insights at the edge, orchestrating multi-cloud apps in real time, or proving carbon neutrality to investors. The future of infrastructure is smarter, faster, and greener. Businesses that treat infrastructure as living and evolving capability, not a static asset, will thrive in this area. The clock is ticking towards 2026. The time to modernize, automate, and optimize is now. Either you're in the game or you're not. And I'm telling you, this is a way that being in a job, and when I say being, let's be clear, when I say being in a job for 10 years, it doesn't mean you stay at a company for 10. You may stay at 3 and then jump. But when you jump, you better jump for more money. You better jump for better benefits. You better jump so you could be that millionaire, and you can do it. And I showed you today how you can do it. That's on one job. You can do it on one job, you can do it on two jobs, but you got to pick what your poison is and what your aim is, and where do you want to be. They're already telling you that having $1 million for your retirement is pennies. They're already telling you that 2.5 is right now is what you need. So you know that's going to continue to go up. And people will tell you, and it's online. I see them, I look at them all the time. You don't need that much money to retire. You don't need to have this in order to retire. Well, the question is, what do you need? What do you want? What does that look like? How does it look like for you to have money in your retirement where you can go play, you can go do your thing, you can go buy whatever it is that you want to buy? All right, and you're not real, and you're not stuck in like, oh, if I get this, if I go pay for this trip to go to Italy, then we can't do the birthday party, right? You gotta pick and choose how you guys want to live. And you may not live in the States. Let's be clear. You may go overseas, but I'm just giving you things that I've learned along the way, things I think you all need to be paying attention to. I'll hold off on these here for the next one with when we start talking about crypto and digital assets and banking. Another banking news has came out. A lot of stuff has gotten pushed over in the last 2 weeks in terms of just overall states, overall taxes, overall everything, the big beautiful bill, the whole nine. There's so much that we need to unpack and be prepared for. But this right here is just a start. I'm talking small numbers. I'm not talking big numbers. I think I'm talking as if this is $55,000. That's how I look at it. Like this is like a regular conversation that we should have. And if that's not true for you, then welcome to the club. welcome, welcome to the club. All right. I appreciate y'all. Hope you have a good day. I hope this was insightful for you. I hope you gain some value. I hope you start looking at things differently. I hope you start reading more. I hope you start in being more engaged into what's going on And also at the same time, don't be afraid to be that multimillionaire in your family. What they gonna do? Get mad at you? Who cares? All right, y'all be safe.